You report, and the world decides. That's my argument. And since you, my listener, have a smartphone, you are more powerful than the Hearst family at the height of the print baronies of the media back in the early 1900s. Your phone has everything in it that can make you a useful citizen, a useful John Q. public, a member of the common working people, the free people, as we're called in our Constitution. David Toulis here, 92.7 Nuka Radio, and also 95.3 FM HD4. We're live on Facebook, and if you have a new model television set, go to the YouTube channel and watch me live. You can see if my bow tie is on straight and see if I'm keeping my word about my blue jacket being gone. And you can scold me for it if you want on live on YouTube on your TV. So we are on your TV right now. Now you have an aunt on the other side of town who does a bit of gardening and takes a walk every now and then, and sometimes she goes out to eat at the best place in East Ridge, Olive Branch Mediterranean Deli, and she watched TV. So you say, Hey, Doris, why don't you watch David Toulis talk about local economy and local doings, an all-news channel, all news all the time on the David Toulis Show at 1 o'clock. It's all, he never gets to Trump. You know, you're tired of hearing about Trump from the great one, Sean Hannity, at 3 o'clock. So if you want to just kind of think more lococentrically, thinking globally and acting locally, well, then watch David Toulis on your television set on YouTube, the Nuga Radio channel. That's where we are. Also, we're live on your smartphone, that powerful device in which you report and the world decides, on the TuneIn Radio app. It's a wonderful app. It's free, and you can watch me there and see me there and hear me there, and appreciate that very much. Also, make sure that you tune in tomorrow at 11 o'clock to Marie Mott, our own Marie Mott, just a firebrand broadcast journalist here in Chattanooga. We have found her, and she is yours at 11 o'clock every day right here at 92.7. Marie Mott, broadcast journalist with a heart. She loves her people, and if you need a bit of love, make sure you tune in to Marie. She will love on you too and give you the greatest perspective of Chattanooga that you would want, and that is about reform and improvement, finding opportunities with Marie Mott that you would not have seen otherwise. Now, even some that I have not seen. I must say she is thinking ahead of me in many areas. Marie Mott, every day, tomorrow at 11 o'clock. Tell that aged aunt of yours with her Gigal living room and her, oddly enough, a new television set, a new LCD that she got at the Walmart. And make sure that she knows, if you're going to give her a call, I know you sometimes call her, make sure that she knows that the menu at Olive Branch Mediterranean Deli and Market here in East Ridge is the chicken piccata and meatballs and spaghetti, and the vegan part of the menu at Olive Branch Mediterranean today with Nick there at the pot is lentil stew and vegetarian pasta bake. Make sure you go there. I was there on a rare date with my wife, Jeanette, and we have greatly enjoyed ourselves there at Olive Branch. Now we have things to get to, and I want you to meet someone here, Cherie Robinson James, who has a life of bitterness, and who in December wept a great deal. She wept a great deal as she told City Council last night. She had a brother killed from a fight that had its origins in Coyote Jack's Tavern downtown, and a dispute that spilled over into a parking lot. Now, in light of that action, and also in light of some official violence by city employees serving Mayor Andy Burke, there was a meeting yesterday at 1:30 in the City Council conference room between David Roddy and at least one of his lieutenants. I believe it was in that room. and members of the city council, including Darren Ledford. And the question really before that group, as we were reading about in the newspaper, which is my source here, though I know Marie attended, and I was not able to hear all of her program today. The topic of discussion, if we are to believe the reporting, and reporting always is selective, so you always have to rely on somebody else's decision about what's important. So reporting suggests the main points, let's hope, and the most important salient points about an event at which the member of the press was present to make a record. Chief Roddy talked a bit about the use of force manual. Now, I've got a copy of that manual. If you want to send me, if you want me to send you a copy of this document, it's 11 pages long. The use of force manual by the Chattanooga Police Department. And what's really interesting about it is that Mayor Burke, because he believes in policing and has support for policing among minority leaders, if we could say, African American leaders. Eric Adkins, I questioned a couple days ago about this. Do you believe in policing? And he said yes. And so we have support. You might say institutional support from the African American ministry industrial complex, which seems to accept the fact that we have this armed group, vertically integrated military organization, where Dana Vaughn, even, who was at the city council yesterday, was there with her weapon, and her wave creating water splitting prow like a boat, which is comprised of 3 gun magazines, right? Gun clips, in which there are either 40 caliber, maybe 9mm, maybe 45 caliber bullets, enough bullets to make her barrels smoke if she were to fire them off in rapid succession in an invasion. They might have a Muslim invasion here in Chattanooga, and so the police will be, of course, everyone would step back and say, hold on, let's let the police come in here. They are the army, and they're diverting themselves from traffic. So let's hope for the best as they make war with non-tracer, non-armor piercing ball ammunition from their service automatics. Now, the use of force manual, ADM 5, 11 pages, meeting the CALEA standards, I'm to understand from Chief Fletcher's work on this project, has a discussion about the steps of violence, and non-deadly force may be used in instances where a police officer reasonably believes it is immediately necessary to take physical action to preserve the peace, prevent the commission of an offense, make a lawful arrest, and or prevent suicide, serious physical injury, or death. Now, there's it goes on. Of course, this is single space type, and Chief Roddy mentions in his interview with city council members the use of force continuum. And what we have here to understand is that the officer is, by his very presence, a threat. Okay, he is force personified. He is force in the flesh, not just because he has his beakish clip prow or bow, but he has the uniform, he has the weapon, and he is part of the continuum. So whenever possible, the officer shall employ a progression of force commonly referred to as the use of force continuum. The manual states it's based on the concept of increasing the police officer's level of control, that is to say violence, in response to the level of resistance of the suspect or violator. If a suspect or violator increases his level of resistance or threat the officer to the officer, of course, right, to the officer is justified in increasing his level of control. So Chief Roddy was simply kind of boiling this down and putting it into his own words. He certainly did not read this, because this is all old hat for an experienced chief of police who loves Chattanooga, loves being here, and wants to serve the public, wants to make, as he says, make the city safe. As the suspect's resistance decreases, it should say declines, the officer's use of force shall decrease proportionally. It's a typo. It shall decreases proportionally, it says, until the suspect is safely secured, usually by handcuffing. So now the there is a psychological presence when the officer is present, and so it goes from hands-on, you might say a hands-on approach, and to the use of the discharge of his weapon, which of course is the highest level of the use of force. Now, I want to tell you about a woman who made an appearance yesterday before the city council and was urged past the 5-minute dinging of the bell by city council members' discussion. Her name is Cherie Robinson James. And Cherie, thanks for coming in. Tell my listener what it is that you said to the council and what you want the listener to hear from you. You are a survivor of the use of force by a private party of someone who had been in the Coyote Jack's Tavern in December of last year. What happened?
Both my brothers were shot. The oldest brother, it was his fight, and the baby tried to, I guess you can say, stop him from being harmed, and he was ultimately shot and killed.
So what are these brothers' names now?
Tori was shot, and Tori was 25 at the time, and Sharon was killed, and he was 22. We just celebrated Sharon's birthday, 23rd birthday on Saturday, July the 14th. We had a great party, had fun. I woke up Sunday morning to a whole bunch of notifications on my phone from Facebook, and people were telling me or letting me know actually about the shooting that had taken place that morning at Coyote Jack's, the same place that we had just been 7 months ago. And we, it was kind of an eerily sensation because we were just here. We literally just did this 7 whole months ago. And for this to happen again, the same exact way at the same exact place is totally unacceptable.
Well, tell my listener a little bit more about Sharon. The two brothers were at Coyote Jack's. They were inside. Were they celebrating something special, or were they regular patrons of the best beers in town there? What drew them there?
They apparently went there quite often. One of the security guards actually knew them from being inside of the club, and they were there with a bunch of friends, and they were just trying to have fun, as were, I'm sure, the ones that were shot on this past 2 weeks ago. I'm sure they were there just to have fun. And as the club was letting out is when everything started.
Well, you mentioned to the city council that this dispute with evidently another man or men began in the tavern. What was it about? Did Sharon or Tori have enemies? Was there a business dispute or old rivalry from high school days? These are young men, right, in their 20s,
right? Young men. What they say happened is there was not really an altercation, but somebody was making eyes. They were looking at each other a certain way, and they kept moving from spot to spot, and the people were following Tori. Sharon was not in it. They were following Tori around.
Sounds a little childish.
Very much so. Very much so. So when they got outside, the group that they were arguing with, actually one of them went to the vehicle, I guess, and got a gun and began shooting in the air, and ultimately shot Tori in his leg. And Sharon knew the guy, so he went toward him, I'm sure, to say, that's my brother, don't shoot at him. And he was shot in the chest, 1 bullet to the chest, and he was murdered.
What happened to the man who pulled the trigger?
He's in jail. He's incarcerated right now.
So he's in prison. He was tried and convicted, or is he?
No, not yet. We're still awaiting.
This is 8 months ago.
Oh yeah,
Cherie Robinson James.
Yes, they are just now working on a murder trial from Labor Day weekend 2016. So I feel like we still have a little while to go.
Well, there's a Speedy Trial Act that gives the defendant a right to a speedy trial. I wonder if he's waived that, but that's 2 years is a long time to wait for trial.
Definitely so.
And the man accused has not made bond.
No, they're holding him on a probation violation right now.
Well, what is it you expect the city council to do, Cherie? As Dana Vaughn, who was the police rep, who I believe she spoke from the mic for a couple of minutes, she indicated that having a company or business called a nuisance is really a long process. There's a requirement, a nuisance. Why don't you tell my listener what a nuisance is, because you defined it from the microphone yesterday at City Council. What is a nuisance, and what's involved in having that kind of finding made?
A nuisance is defined as something that causes injury or insults or something of that matter. It doesn't have to be public. It can be private as well. As far as having something determined to be a nuisance, we would have to go through some channels. Well, we are going to go through some channels as far as speaking with the police chief, and then just kind of trickling down as far as paperwork and all of that goes, because they've received a whole lot of calls from this address, and a whole lot of things have happened there that, by all intents and purposes, this place should not be open right now.
Well, I mean, that's not quite fair to say. Here's a man making a living. He's probably been in the tavern business for a long time. He knows about beers. He knows about service. He knows how to hire good cooks and waiters and brewmeisters, perhaps. So he has a lawful, he has a liberty and a freedom to be in that business. So to say that he shouldn't be there at all is maybe not going too far, Cherie?
Well, that, it's an opinion thing. And my opinion is one of, not just because my brother was killed and my other brother was injured, but because they are a threat. This place is a threat to the community as a whole. As I said last night, where that place is located is in the middle of our tourism. Chattanooga wants to be great. And I mean, in order to make money, you got to have people come in and, hey.
My listener goes to another watering hole and doesn't really know a lot about Coyote Jack. So say something just briefly what it's near, Cherie.
1400 Coward Street. It is directly across from the Carter bus, like where the Carter buses are, right next door to the Chattanooga Choo Choo, which they have now made that little area kind of sort of like Bill Street in Memphis. You can walk around and drink alcohol outside over there. And, then you have this place across the street that people are shooting at, people are shooting from. So I just don't think it's safe at all.
Well, now there's also been in the news coverage, Cherie Robinson James, a question about the owner of the parking lot where the trigger was actually pulled. I think it's Republic Parking. And what can the city council do in regards to that? Say, hey, please have a security guard there Friday and Saturday nights at these hours, which would be an expense. Again, that lot has to justify its cash flow, and that company has to look at all of its expenses, and expecting it to add an officer because there's a tavern nearby is, one might think, asking a lot. What do you think?
I think it's asking a lot. My fight is definitely not with Republic Parking, because Republic Parking does not charge to park on the weekends. So they're not making anything. What I would love to see done in that lot is to have a chain, a bar, or something across where nobody can enter that place during those hours. And then, whatever Coyote Jacks does then for parking, as far as their patron goes, that's on them. But again, my fight is not with Republic Parking.
So you're suggesting that Republic Parking now effectively subsidizes the clientele of the tavern who park there for free on the weekend. Republic does not have cash flow from that property, and lets anyone park there, including the patrons of that establishment. So you're worried that there's a kind of subsidy or gift or grant from Republic to the clients of the tavern, some of whom may carry guns, some of whom may drink to excess, and so on.
Yeah,
right?
That's my thing. Again, they don't pay, so they're not getting anything out of it. So in essence, what it is parking for Coyote Jacks. But Coyote Jacks' main argument is it's not their parking lot, but that's where their patrons park. If they don't have anywhere to park, then I'm sure people are not going to walk. So if they don't have anywhere to park, then I don't foresee anybody going there.
Well, let me ask you just quickly, Cherie, about the man accused in your brother Sharon's death. what is likely to happen in the way of compensation for your family? Your brother's life is worth something. I'm sure an actuarial person in the insurance industry could say, well, this young man at this age is worth, 1.5 million or 900,000 or some guess as to what his value is as a life that's been taken from your family. Does your family expect any kind of compensation after he's, assuming he's found guilty by the jury?
Right now, I totally won't comment on that just because we have, the case is ongoing, and I won't even go there right now.
Cherie, thanks for joining us.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
This is David Roddy chatting with Cherie Robinson James, who addressed the City Council last night, asking for action against the tavern Coyote Jack downtown. David Toulis, love your neighbor and buy local. We cover local economy and the free markets here in Chattanooga.
3, 2, 1.
Chattanooga Radio. Digital FM 95.3 HD4. 92.7 FM's news now.
The brother of the former Assistant Police Chief Edwin McPherson found dead in his home. Police say Gary McPherson had been reported missing earlier, and a search turned up his expired